Three, two, and fun. We're on our next episode of a podcast. This is the first for us, Dalip, and thanks for joining. I host Stephen Maxton on a podcast, a good friend for a couple of years now, Dalip, and you're an endurance athlete. That's how we first met. We were talking about bikes and stuff,
Yeah.
and we got you out there doing some fat tire stuff. I remember that from a few years ago, and then you were popping up almost. It just seemed like everywhere I kind of was. You did like a little Santa run thing or winter run thing, I think, with our group at one point. And yeah, that as I was just saying, it was funny. I had seen this ad for this like winter run thing that you ended up. I'm sure you had signed up well ahead of time. I was a little bit late to the thing, but there's this really cool run that caught my eye, and then I just see that you're signing up for all these great runs, and I wanted to get you on here to talk about it because I feel like you've done some really incredible things. So why don't I pass it to you, and why don't you give a listener a little bit insight about your background and what you've been doing in the endurance side of things. I know it's a lot more than what I just skimmed over for us there. So why don't you tell the listener a little bit about that?
Well, thank you, Stephen, for inviting me. It's my pleasure to share my journey. I'm an adventurer, mountaineer from over last 20 years. So some of my major achievements are I have done Mount Everest in 2019. I summited it, and then I have climbed other 17 mountain peaks all over the world. And then when I came
Awesome.
back, I thought I need to use that momentum to do some extra stuff. So I started doing the ultra marathons, so extreme marathons. So my first one was Marathon des Sables, which is called the Marathon of Sand. It's a 250 kilometers self-supported run in the blistering heat of Sahara Desert, which I finished in 2021. And that was the hottest edition of all, where the temperature was around 59 degrees Celsius. When I came
Oh,
back, that motivated
jeez,
me more.
that's insane.
Yeah, that we had like 50% dropout for that race and one death because of the heat
Oh,
stroke. So it was a
I
pretty
believe that.
bad in terms of the endurance and the heat, and a lot of heat injuries we saw.
I believe it, especially running on sand. That's crazy. I did not know that. That's new news for me, listener. Um, wow.
And
So you're okay. Sorry, just continue on. I'm sure
yeah, yeah,
there's
I have
more
a
here.
long list.
Yeah, yeah,
You can interrupt me and ask me questions.
yeah.
Then in 2022, I picked up the most dangerous race, which is the jungle ultra in Amazon rainforest. That was 230 kilometers, again self-supporting in the grueling and what do you call that, heavy rain and choking humidity for 5 days. It was again self-supported, and so far only 50 people are able to finish that race in the world. So I love that race, but I'm not done there. So then I
Love it.
decided to go to the ski expedition to the South Pole. So I skied from last degree 89 south to that's 111 kilometers for almost 7 days in the extreme cold. Antarctica is known to be the world's highest, driest, iciest, windiest, inhospitable, the brightest. We can add a lot of things, but that was one of my extreme adventures which I did, and we reached geographical South Pole, and I felt really proud.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, that was for my 2022, and then start this year. I started with Mountain Ultra in Kyrgyzstan, which is again one of the extreme races at 4,000 meters. So we had to do 200 kilometers on mountains for 5 days, again self-supported, very treacherous, very technical, and only 12 of us could finish that race. And immediately after that, I had to go for the North Pole expedition. So I got only 1 week gap. I was totally exhausted from the 210 kilometer. Actually, we ended up doing more because the GPS didn't work on those mountains. Those Kyrgyzstan mountains are amazing. So we reached geographical North Pole in August, this last August. Uh, and then we ran a marathon on the ice, and ice was almost like a meter thick. We had to wear a life jacket. It was slushy. And we were the first group of humans, like only six of us, who ran the first ever marathon on the pole in summer. So,
Yeah.
and then when I'm not done yet, so you can ask me if you have any questions. But then I heard about polar bears. We saw a lot of polar bears over there, because we at North Pole they're known for polar bear territory, and they were the
Yeah.
scientists we had during our trip were talking about Churchill. Like I said, I live in Manitoba. I've never been to Churchill, and they showed
Yeah.
us a picture where they showed like 20 polar bears in one place. I said, this is like something I have to go now because it's a calling. Then I checked and I signed up for this polar bear marathon at Churchill.
Right.
And oh boy, we I did 50K there. There was no longer distance, otherwise I could have stayed longer. But what a beautiful place by Hudson Bay, and we saw four polar bears, one mama bear and a cub,
Yeah.
and they were just not far, like almost 100 meters away from us. And then there's a escort vehicle which was behind us
Yes.
with the rifles. It's such an amazing experience to do. So yeah, these are some of my highlighted adventures. But there are other 16 mountains which I didn't talk, so I think we don't have enough time to talk about that.
Here I am before opening up. I'm saying to you like, hey, listen, like I don't know if we're gonna fill the normal time.
Yeah,
Might be a little shorter and stuff, but I
yeah.
don't think we're gonna be short of topics here. This is
So
super
that's
fun.
my intro.
Sick. We've never had one of those before like that. I think you just probably hit all the keywords for any kind of mountain expedition. You're literally probably like 0.5% or a fraction of a percent of most folks in terms of some things that you just mentioned there in terms of like endurance athletes, right? Because a lot
So,
of folks drop off, or I mean, unfortunately, someone died in that one race. But like, and you must be like one of 7 billion in terms of or whatever we're at now for population
I don't know.
of people who have,
I was
yeah,
almost checking the stats and like how many people in the world have done three poles, like Everest, North Pole, and South Pole. I
yeah,
couldn't find many names, so like they
huh,
said a handful, like 20 so far in the world. So, and almost like three or four Canadians are in the list. So I'm proud that I was successful in doing those.
yeah, no kidding. Well, like I said, like that's a very small number of the population to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Um, that's very cool. Now, when you said something on there, it was like, is it like self-guided or something that you said there? Does that mean like you're bringing everything with you in a little
Yes.
backpack?
Yeah.
So okay,
Uh,
so for some of those races, there's no one with you. You're just,
All my races are self-supported. So you have to be
oh,
on your
girl.
survival. You bring your food, your sleeping bag, and like especially the jungle was brutal because you have to stay above the ground, so we had to sleep in hammocks, and those bullet ants come and bite you because you're eating in the tent. They can climb and they come under the the hammock, and then they bite you. It's pretty bad. And there are like a lot of coral snakes, dangerous wildlife throughout, like poison spiders. We had so many near misses. We spotted almost 32 snakes, crossed almost gazillions of river, faced 30 hours of heavy rainfall. Uh, we were bruised up pretty bad, like, but those were the rewards of the jungle. I accept it, and
Rewards.
I was
That's
lucky to
cool.
finish it. Yeah.
That's awesome. That is so neat. Well, and I mean, it's like kind of one of those things where you're like training for an event. I'm pretty fair weather. Like even when I do like triathlons with my group of guys there and stuff like that, this seems so tame now because I'll miss like a day when it rains too hard. But I guess in the sense of like training, it's almost really good to get a few of those days in when you're training for this stuff.
That's
I
that's
mean,
my plan. Yeah. I
yeah,
always pick the worst days for training because then you have that mindset that you have done this, you've been there,
yeah,
and staying longer for those days actually brings the best out of because whenever you go, you can't control. Even the best of best training fails when the nature plays. So need to have that very strong mindset of training in extreme environments. Like I camped in my backyard. I do a lot of cold training, just to have that
cool,
experience. I have a race coming up which I've been doing for the last 5 years. So I love it, that winter rain training.
unreal. So besides probably like running outside and stuff, do you explore anything as far as like cold plunges and stuff just to push your body a little bit further on those things
Well,
besides the recovery stuff?
yeah, I've been taking like cold showers throughout the
Yeah,
winter, all throughout the year actually. And then at the North Pole also we did the polar dip, which a lot of people were
Cool.
scared to do that at the exact pole, where the
Yeah.
water was so cold. But the goal was to stay at least a minute. And
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
we survived. It was salty water, but felt pretty
Yeah,
good. Yeah.
that's insane. So have you done the math? This might be like a tricky one, and I don't, if you don't know, this is totally cool. But in the total like height that you've climbed over the races, have you done the math on that, what that adds up to?
So just the mountain ultra, like in 5 days, we have scaled almost 10,500 meters, which is uh, higher than Everest in 5 days. Everest took
Wow.
us 50 days to climb. So
Right. Is that because there's lots of like on that climb you're changing, so you're actually climbing more
every
than
day
that?
we were climbing at least 2,500 meters, 3,000 meters, 3,500 meters, plus the distance. So even doing a 5K can take you like 6 hours on mountains.
Right.
So
Yeah.
having that 210-kilometer, like we were lost for at least 10 kilometers over the 5 day period. So
Shoot.
that adds up, it hurts because every step counts. And so it was pretty intense race as compared to any other race I've done. But I would still
Yeah.
rate Jungle Ultra as still my number one because of the extreme environment you've been to. Like there's choking humidity, there's you are totally soaked in the water because so much of river crossing. In one of the stage, it was like 15 kilometer. You were just in the river. So
Oh my
imagine
God.
like how you walk on those slippery rocks. There was a lot of falling, balancing. The water was at least our waist level, and then somewhere at the chest, and then we have to swim some point, come out again, go back again, come out. So and
Oh my gosh.
then you cross through the mud, that's shin deep mud that's just so slowing you down. Yeah, and the night stage was pretty scary too because then you are totally at the mercy of the jungle. And my headlamp stopped at one point, so I was freaked out because you don't know when, like in the middle of jungle, but luckily it started working again.
Oh,
So
wow.
some pretty bad experience. Got bitten by bullet ants. Had a cut on my hand and my back. I fell down pretty bad because of the heavy rain. It was so slippery to slide down, and then the roots are everywhere. Everything is just about to bite. You
Right.
don't know the next branch which is coiled could be a pit viper or some snake. You're scared to touch
Oh
any
my
surface
gosh.
there.
Did you have to like study this stuff ahead of time a little bit? Like, were you
No,
curious to know like what was out there, or you just
I
got to
just
know the
signed up.
nature?
It's just I whenever I
Yeah.
see these kind of races, it's just a calling, right? I feel so excited and motivated. Like the next race I'm looking is the March. It's called Walk of the World. That's in
Cool.
July. It's in Nijmegen, Holland, and it's a 4 day, 200-kilometer march. And I'm looking forward to that with the weight. So I have to carry 10 kilos in my backpack. So I'm
Neat. What
training.
what sorry, is it 10 kilos like a standard weight thing, or
Yeah,
that's just what you're going to be carrying with you?
it's a standard weight.
That like
Everybody has
you
to
have to
carry.
carry like a vest?
Yeah.
Oh, I saw some videos of you training with the vest on. I was wondering what that was about.
Yeah, I have to
I was
train.
like, he's just going more hardcore. Cool. But no, you have to run with that thing on
Yeah,
or
I'm
march.
building that body's, practice that at least I have 15 kilos of that. The vest is 15 kilos. So at least 10 kilo won't feel, heavy.
Yeah, that's heavy. Wow, that's crazy. What, and is that one where you have to pack in as well?
No, we'll
Like
stop
stop,
at food points, but this is
right?
just the mandatory weight you have to carry, 10
Very cool.
kilos. So,
The ones that you do have the backpack with you, what do you pack in there? What does that look like?
so it's almost 12 kilos. So it has food for 5 days, actually 6 days food, because
Yeah,
the night before we are on our own. And then it
yeah,
has sleeping bag, it has a mat, it has all the first aid kit you need, and then extra pair of clothes you need. So whatever you need is in the backpack for 5 6 days.
yeah,
And you're always in that state of being miserable but very happy and joyful because you're there, in the middle
yeah.
of chaos. You're enjoying your life and achieving your life goals. So I call it finding the inner peace. So these all my goals are leading me to inner peace, which ultimately what we all do is we all are chasing some dreams, like someone position, someone title, someone bigger house, someone car. I want to
Totally.
achieve these goals and have that inner satisfaction that I made the best use of my life and I accomplished something. But at the same time, I'm attaching my these goals with raising funds for the people and giving back to the community, so that makes it more
Awesome.
meaningful.
That's great. Well, what can you expand a little bit on that? Is it always the same cause that you give back to,
No,
or what does that look like?
I have chosen multiple agencies. I have a running group. So
Okay.
after Everest, I started Rising Runners, and these Rising Runners basically wanted to inspire more people. That I'm training, and if you want to join, welcome. And then
Cool.
we said, like, now we have a manpower. Why don't we use it to benefit the community? So we started tree plantation. We started cleaning up trails. We started raising funds. So I raised funds for homes for heroes, wounded warriors, Cancer Care Manitoba. Then for Seva Canada, when India had the COVID Delta 9 deaths, we supplied oxygen concentrators. We raised almost $12,000 for that. Then Saint Amman, where I work. So there are
Yeah.
multiple agencies we chose, and it's ongoing. Like, giving back to community is so meaningful, because what I have learned through my climbs and my races is that you need to be very simple and humble. And humbleness brings that giving and approach and compassionate approach to people who really need help. If my effort can
Totally.
benefit someone in the community, why not?
That's awesome. So it's not just running, doing a
Yeah,
lot more than that.
yeah.
Holy mackerel. Wow. That's awesome. Like,
Thank you.
um, what so favorite run, or like the one that I heard you say was the Amazon one.
Yes.
The desert one sounded really badass as well. Not that any of these sounded tame off of your top seven list or whatever we had listed off here in the last few years, but is there one that sticks out, or maybe I guess your favorite probably was the most challenging one? Is there one that kind of you didn't really like doing as much on the journey?
No, actually, I don't have that mindset of I don't like it.
Right,
I have the mindset through meditation that I want to do it, and no matter what, the
right,
only way I'm going to be out of the race is if I collapse.
right.
If I have prepared myself through that, I've been through, pain. I've been through injuries. I've been through. So on mountain climb, when I was doing mountain ultra, a rock came because the climber above me pushed a rock, which was almost 50-degree gradient, and that hit on my shin, a big rock, and I was bleeding. I'd sat down for 10 minutes, and I said, like, what do you want to do now? Do you want to assume that your bone is fractured, like the shin are fractured, or you want to keep going? So 10 minutes I rested in pain, and then I got up and started going. So that was the day 4, and I still had one more day. So I think sometimes you have to make that decision, split decision, and the inner
Yeah,
voice says, you're stronger than this.
amazing.
So
Was it fractured?
no, it was not fractured, but it
Or
was
just
it
screwed?
hurt pretty bad because a
Yeah,
big rock gains momentum when it comes from top. So, but anyway,
getting
that's part and parcel of those are gifts, I call them, because enlightenment, through suffering,
yeah,
um, inner peace through suffering is that's the way. You know, you
totally.
choose your problems. What you want to believe in. I'm not going to complain that somebody didn't talk to me. I didn't, like, those are small things we complain in the life. There are
Yeah,
bigger pains you have to build tolerance to. You need to
totally.
be bigger than any other problem, which can present you. So at my work, I'm always prepared. Okay, I'm I've been there, I've done it. I have the power to handle this, and I'm ready. So that's what my meditation has given me, that approach. So no goal has ever realized me that even
Yeah,
Everest, where we lost two people, total 11 during our climb. Uh, you know, I had frostbite. I lost my toes during Everest climb. I had knee surgery, but those things doesn't stop you. You know, it's just the way it is. The goals demand that. You know, so it's just purification. I call it.
Hold on, question.
Yeah,
Sorry if this is a weird one to ask you. You lost some toes though,
yeah,
climbing Everest? How many
yeah.
you
We
lose?
all of us. I lost two on my
Yeah,
left, but yeah,
yeah.
yeah. We all had
The little
frostbite.
ones?
Yeah, the little ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm guessing.
But
Damn.
I was numb for months, you know, but that could have stopped me there. But that's when the real war started within, you know. I
No
bounced
kidding.
back after my surgery. Within 2 weeks, I bounced back and I raised fund for Wounded Warriors. And I did 700 kilometers in a month. I ran just to beat myself up, you know, just to come out of this, that I'm not
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
stop. This injury cannot stop me. So, like building
yeah.
that mindset that, you know, pain barrier has to be crossed.
No kidding. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, on that end of things, you must burn through a fair number of shoes. Do you have a certain company that you run a lot in, or do you try different ones to keep the variety kind of going with the feet? I know I've tried a few personally, but I'm not doing the same level that you're doing.
I think
So,
The
that's okay.
Salomon Speed Cross are a really good one. You know, I've tried them for multiple extreme races, and they stood
Yeah.
out. You know, they have no blisters, nothing, and
Yeah.
I think I love them. So I think they're pretty
Oh,
good, waterproof, and pretty comfortable, wide, and have good sole life. So
yeah.
I use them for mountain ultra, this polar bear, my trainings, and then previously also for jungle ultra, although I have to throw the Jungle Ultra one because they were pretty bad
Yeah.
shape after mud and all that exposure. But I think, yeah, shoes. I have at least 7 to 8 pairs of shoes, which
Yeah.
take a lot of space in the
Well,
house.
that makes sense, though. You run every day? Oh, that's healthy.
Run, like I have variety of workouts, so I don't
Right.
focus on running. I think my focus is to engage myself 3 hours, whatever I do. I like simple thing starts from the day. You know, I uh, park my car almost half a kilometer away from my workplace. So that's purposely I do it. You know, I could have parked in front of my job, you know, but I want to walk just to
Cool.
get more steps in. I will take longer route at work. I'll take stairs. I never use elevator. So these are small things, and lunch walks, everyday lunch walk. My lunch is 5K walk. So
That's
I
awesome.
call it, you know, it's just so replenishing and rebooting that I'm continuously having that mindset of doing that 20,000, 25,000 steps, you know, and
A
then
day.
come a day, and then come back home and then go gym for 100 minutes, you know, do some workout. 100 is minimum, but sometimes I have like elevation in mind. Sometimes I have other things like how much distance I'm going to do. So those things, you know, keeps me going, more variety every day so that I don't get bored.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. How did you get started on all the running and endurance stuff? Was there a point, or have you always been doing this your entire journey and life and stuff?
No, like I was a hiker 20 years ago. It started, you know, when I joined my teaching profession. That's 23 now. So there was a hiking group, and we were in by the base of the mountains. So because I loved hiking, I joined it, and then I met the guy who climbed Mount Everest. He said, "Hey, you do a lot of hiking. Why don't you go for mountaineering course?" I said, "Definitely, I'll go." So they sponsored me to go for basic mountaineering course. There, I met more Everest climbers, and then they showed
Cool.
how the projectile of how to go for Everest, and that set my brain to staying in a mountain for a month for that training. Changed me as a person. You know. Then I came back with my
Cool.
progressive plan. Started thinking about Everest. You know, then I went back. I did advanced mountaineering course. I learned more about those you know, rescue skills, crevasse crossing. You know, how
Oh
to get,
yeah,
you know, cross, how to
those are
rescue
gnarly.
yourself. And that training was pretty intense. I loved it, and I never stopped. Then I continuously, progressively climbed 4,000 meters, 5,000 meters, 6,000 meters, 7,000 meters, and kept adding. And then 15 years later, you know, I said, okay. I'm getting to 40 now. If I don't do it now, Everest is out of sight because everything. Uh, I don't know. Some people don't believe, but in my head, I believe that after 40, it's a downhill. So I wanted to get it done, and then I decided, that okay, this is my time. I've
Right.
worked two jobs. I saved for Everest, so and only that was my one chance because it's very expensive, $70,000 to go for Everest. Yeah, and I was lucky. We lost so many people on the way, and
Yeah.
I submitted it. But that was not the end. When you go there, you meet crazy people, and then they set you up for MDS. So they gave me open that ultra window for me. Then at
Totally.
MDS, I met people who have done North Pole and South Pole. So I said, okay, I'm. It's not getting lower. I have to keep going now. That momentum is high, and now I'm planning to do the Grand Slam, which is seven continents, seven mountains, and all three poles. So, which I've done the hardest one
Yeah.
and the expensive ones. So, I'm going for Aconcagua in December. So, I'm going to do the 7,000 meter, and rest of the continents will be 2025. So, I'll be mostly done with my Grand Slam by 2025. That's the goal. So, I
That's
have
incredible.
six more to go.
Six more.
Yeah.
Awesome. That is incredible. The interesting thing that you just mentioned there too, like training about or I guess maybe getting by or being aware of crevasses because those things are scary. You see them
Yes.
on like ski and snowboard hills once in a while. They kind of show up, or they'll be partway through a run once in a while. That does happen.
Yeah.
I know, but
They do good training. Like they'll throw you in a crevasse and then they'll ask you to come out, and then they'll like ask you to fall yourself from 1,000 meter and arrest your fall. Although they have attachments, but still, you
yeah,
experience that. And then another one is survival. So in advanced mountaineering course, what they do is they randomly pick a day, and then you're not aware. They'll say, okay, pack up everything and then leave your tents, everything. You just whatever dress you are in. Now 24 hours, you have to meet like 40-kilometer away in 24 hours, and you have to survive without food, without water, and on the mountains. And that's a real like scenario that could happen. Being for 17 years in the mountains,
yeah,
this is a real possibility. So we did that survival in advance, and then I joined the military here. That training made me more harder because being infantry, is just bring the best out of you. Staying out in the woods, and just everyday challenges. And I think every training has helped me to be a better person.
no kidding. That's incredible. You get a lot of you time to think when you're doing that stuff. I'm sure you get a lot of that time when you're training to, kind of get at peace with some things. But when you're out doing races, anything endurance wise, you get some good brain time. That break from the busy schedule otherwise. So that's really cool. That's unreal.
Yeah, I'm always high energy thinking about my next goal, like what's next, because this is like I'm in the middle of the river of eternity, and it's not stopping. You don't have a moment to sit down and think. Like people ask me like, where is your book you are supposed to write? So I said I will write my books, but I don't want to stop and focus on one thing. That book would be my end, that I've done my adventures. So I'm right in the middle of doing stuff, and that'll distract me. So I'm working
Totally,
on it, but I'm more focused on achieving things because the momentum is there. Once you have that momentum, it's easier to
totally.
achieve goals. So
Yeah,
that's what I'm doing.
awesome. Do you have a favorite workout outside of running, like when you're doing other stuff in the gym?
Yeah, like my gym is mostly like stairs, weight training, running, elliptical, climbing related because I have that six more mountains to go, which I
Right.
have to get them done, and mostly focus on keeping myself engaged. Anyway, longer route is my shortest way of achieving goals.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What about how do you keep yourself fueled? What kind of food are you putting back in the hatch there for all this training and stuff? What's
So
the
that
diet look like?
that's a really good question, you know. So for Everest, I think that started in 2017 when I started training for Everest, and I
Yeah.
did in 2019. So I started skipping one meal. So that's like my dehydration and meal skipping training. So I do that, which means I don't eat lunch.
Okay.
I go for 5K walk. That's my lunch. But
Okay.
my calorie requirement, I focus a little bit more on protein and some juice and light snack during the day. But one meal is my heaviest meal. That's in the at night.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like I'm not a big eater. I know for when survival will come, I should be able to stand. That's why I have to carry less weight when I go for these self-supported
Right.
race. I don't worry about packing lunch because I've trained myself. I don't pack
Very
five
cool.
liters of water. I can survive my training. Like whenever I do my half marathons and full marathons, I just take minimum water, 500 ml of water. In Sahara too, like when we did, I was in this picture. Maybe you can see in the background. I have only one bottle, which is for the full marathon distance, and the temperature was almost 50 degrees. So, so yeah, your body you can train it. It's just the how you know your body can adapt. It's such an
No
amazing
kidding.
machine.
That is so cool. I've done a few different things like messing around with like diets and sometimes
Yeah,
not like full fasting, but skipping some meals to see how
it's all
that
conditioning,
feels.
like
So
how you train yourself. It's like shivering threshold, then the how your body can adapt to that. What do you call that? Lactic acid tolerance
yeah,
when you overexhaust. So I always run on tired legs. After a marathon, I have to go for a run. So your body build that
so you're
resistance
flushing.
of not feeling, because those marathons are back to back, right? And when you do this self-supported, they always keep the day four as the hardest, like 80 kilometer, and then they'll put like 3,000 meters of climb. Like then you're screwed up if you're like, oh boy, I've never trained to be tired. If running a
Yeah,
marathon, I take 1 week of break, it's not going to work for ultras. You
right.
have to run another marathon after that. So you have to push past that pain barrier. Just excuses will not lead you to success. I've heard a lot, people when I talk to them, like, oh, we ran 21K, we need massage and all that. Like, that's all bullshit. You go for another half.
I love it.
You know, it's gonna be automatically massaged by itself. You remove that lactic acid through running again. So you open up your
And
muscles through longer walks. So, pardon my language. I just
no, no, not at all. That's allowed. We checked that box off on YouTube to say that it's okay. Um, that's super interesting. Is there anything that you definitely have in your diet? Um, that is like a staple. I know you mentioned some stuff that you just kind of like lighter meals and maybe some juices and stuff like that. Not tons of water by the sounds of things.
So one
Is
thing
there like
I focus for my like races diet is I pack my homemade food,
yeah,
which are really good on stomach. So I don't take any gels or anything.
yeah,
I
okay, that's what I was kind of wondering if there was something like that that you leaned on a little bit, but
no.
okay,
I've tried them and they didn't work well for me. So
yeah,
I make my homemade dried food and I use that. Although I always ended up not eating half of it because I don't feel hungry. I don't know. It's just so I ended up giving it to people who really wanted it. I said, I packed minimum and still I can finish this. I don't know.
unreal.
I just survive on my reserves, which I do that, carb loading 1 week prior to that. So that helps. So I trust on
Okay,
that, my system.
no kidding. That's incredible. Yeah, I just imagine you maybe passing these people and being like, "Hey, do you need a snack?" Um, oh,
Yeah,
that's
some of
awesome.
my trainings are like really different kind. I don't follow a rigid like any structured. I just build myself into these trainings, and I created my
Yeah,
own training plan. So and then my own diet, so that I tested everything out. and pushed myself. I think more important is, I know diets and these things are important, but the most important thing is mindset.
Yeah.
When I prepare for anything, in my meditation, I visualize and I lock my target. I said, I have to dissect every single section of my race. What are the worst condition I'm going to be in? If I'm training for desert, what do I need? Heat training. So I push myself into heat for days, that my body can build that tolerance. Or cold training or mountain training. So I went to India. Like, I take that pretty seriously into consideration, that and that mindset of pushing yourself through that, and having that night training too, because there are races which have night portion, so you have to
Yeah.
be trained for that. But mindset is number one priority, and training yourself to in extreme weathers will lead you to your best, to perform.
No kidding. That's
Yeah,
awesome. Sounds like you really throw everything you can at yourself in the training here, and that's incredible that you do the heat training, cool training. What's Do you have a favorite distance to run out of any of them? I know that you're trying to push the limits here and you're going a lot further, but do you enjoy most going for like a 5K or a 10K run at all?
I like, if I am training for a race, what I look for is multi-day and over 200 kilometers. So that's what satisfies my ego, that
Yeah,
qualifies
yeah.
me to participate. That, like, then I have that third eye open, that okay, this is a calling for me now. I have to. And now Ice
Big fan.
Ultra is the one in Sweden, which I'm looking forward to in 2025, which I'm going to go.
Okay.
And then another, like, 2024 would be low key. I have to save money for all the six peaks, because then I
Yeah.
want them to be done in 2025. So 2025 would be the busiest year for me to finish all my extreme ultras. Only ice is remaining. Like, ice
Yeah.
I have done multiple times. Like, North Pole was ice. The Activa Pica I do every year is ice, but it's not 200 kilometers. So I need that 230-kilometer distance to make sure that I have done all 230-kilometer, 40-kilometer extreme ultras all over the world. So
Awesome.
yeah,
This is
training is
amazing.
thank you.
Yeah, this is it, I mean, I don't know if you want to open this up or you tell me if people want to follow your journey though, is there a way that they can do that?
Yes, so I'm on Instagram. I have only very few followers, because uh, I'm not a person who aim to have like a social media gain, but
Yeah.
definitely now I've started adding people, and people connect with me through my journey. So I have Instagram account which is DLS Sheikh,
Okay.
DLSSHEK, and then my Facebook account is Shekhawat D. So my last name and D. So yeah, uh, everybody is welcome to follow my journey. And if you want to run, please come out, join me. We can do some training. I'm also planning to do tire pull training soon for my walk of the world march, and
Yeah.
that'll start in January. So I'm looking
Very awesome.
forward to it.
And the best way to connect with you on that would be through the social medias to reach out, or is there a set place that you guys normally do that training on
So,
or at?
so we meet every Saturday and Sunday at St. Vital Park by the duck pond,
Okay.
and people have connected.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are coming now. We also go on winter hikes, and then if something race is coming, like on Sunday, we might go for join other groups too,
Yeah.
because you want to collaborate and learn more. So there's always an opportunity to collaborate and do stuff with others.
So I'm just thinking if you're doing some fundraising and stuff like that, and more people are following you, and that if they tap into this and hear it, it might be a good way for them to for you to be able to share with them, the
Definitely,
story
yeah,
and what you're raising for there. Um, this is so cool. I'm
yeah.
excited for I don't know if this is right on the thing, but like hopefully we get to do a 2.0 in the future on the podcast here to see what other peaks you've climbed. I think this has been
Yeah, I'll
super
be
insightful.
December. I'll be back with my 7,000 meter climb. That'll be my second 7,000 meter I'll be doing, and then my ice ultra. 2025 would be busy year, so
Okay,
I'll
after
come.
that.
I'll come and go, and it'll be just so that's the year I'm going to start uh, in different agencies for fundraiser,
Cool.
and definitely it's time to give back, but slowly, like I also each year I do for Saint Amand. I do Free the Spirit Festival. We raise almost like $5,000, $6,000 each year for that month,
Awesome.
helping others.
That is wonderful. Well, I think we got to pencil you in for 2026 already. Get you ahead of time because your race schedule is looking that far out. So
Yeah,
after that, we'll make sure to include the social medias though in the on the post on the website here, so folks can get a hold of you or go to follow you there and follow the journey. I think this is just we could probably talk for forever on this. We didn't even really get into the weeds of some of the races here, but I think that you had great insight about how you're pushing yourself, the charity fundraising that you do, the distance that you like, which is an odd number of over 200 kilometers, which is insane but amazing. And just how you train your body to almost like not require that much water. Like the hydration thing is fascinating to me because everyone's always telling you to drink more water and do this stuff, but if you train your body accordingly, it's you get used to it.
yeah.
You
Throughout the
adapt.
day,
So
I barely drink like 3 or 4 glass of water, and my wife has always been complaining that you need to drink water. Like you're not training now, but I said every moment is training moment. You never know. You have to be in the state of readiness.
oh my gosh, that is so perfect. You're just always training.
Yeah,
That's your number
every
one focus.
opportunity is a
So
training opportunity. You can minimize your eating, habits so you can save the planet. Like skipping a meal, if the whole world does that, we can save so much of food for people who need it. We waste so much of calories by just overeating. We don't need.
yeah, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
Probably guilty as charged on that one a little bit lately, but definitely agree. I have seen a lot of the stuff on that. Even things like changing the size of plates is a big thing that number of years ago can seriously help you pull back on that. But it's very neat how passionate you are about running and how many other things this really ties into. Um, Philippe, so this was awesome to have you on. Uh, I'm excited to chat again more soon. Hopefully, I can actually maybe make it out. It said it's on Sundays. You guys go run
Yes, Saturday and Sunday, both days
Saturday
at
and Sunday.
8 o'clock. Yeah, in the morning.
Good.
Winter is the best time to run.
I, I would argue differently, but I will take your word for it. It might be a good experience for me to hop out and try that with you guys there. So
Well, always
that's,
remember, there's no bad weather, it's bad clothing.
that is very true.
Yeah. If
I
you are
think
layered up properly, you're dressed up properly, you will be very comfortable outside. You can stay for days as like South Pole. We skied with no heat, minus
yeah,
40, wind chill minus 50. We survived for 10
yeah,
days
that
outside,
is so crazy.
So we are just out there for 2 hours. So if you're dressed properly in layers, always like have that
Yeah.
option. Yeah. That's what I tell everybody. What is stopping you? They say, oh, it's cold. I said, I think it's just the mindset. If you dress properly, it's not cold.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm loving every minute of this. I'm excited for other folks to hear this story too be shared. I think this is incredible what you've done. So I just want to say thank you so much for hopping on and making time in your evening here. Thoroughly enjoyed this today. So yeah, I'll do my best to try to make it out for one of these training sessions. I think that'd be a great experience.
Awesome. Yeah. Shoot me a message, so I can let the group members know too.
Yeah,
And thank you for having me. It's such a wonderful opportunity to always share my experience. And if somebody can benefit, I would definitely love to help. And I have helped so many others, people in the community and other runners too. So it just kind
yeah,
of go. And I'm still working, so I'm work in progress. I'm not done yet. So I'm in my middle of my journey. So
that's so awesome.
yeah,
I love everything about that. That's really great. So, okay,
thank
we'll chat more, Leap, and this has been a pleasure having you on. So thank you very much again, and we'll talk to you more soon.
thank you for having me. Have a good night. Yeah.